Welcome, everyone, to the ScreamCast. I'm your host, Sean DeRager, and with me, as always, is Brad Fuck You Henderson.
Thanks. Hello.
And this week, we are introducing our third host of the show. I don't like using the term co-host, because I think we all contribute. Brian Saur has been added on to the roster as our regular third host.
Hello, Brian.
Hello, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored, beyond honored.
I figured, on Twitter, I tweeted this out. I said, Brad's the brawn, I'm the wit, and you're the brain of this superhuman that we've created.
I'll take that.
I'm fine with it too, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know how witty I am, because I was tweeting that out, and I was like, well, I'm really not that witty, but I'll take it, I guess.
It's true.
All right, I'm going to shut up now, because I don't, I'm just setting myself up.
We are a team. We are a mighty team.
We are a team, and we enjoy Scream Factory releases, which is why this podcast exists. So thank you for listening, and I want to thank all the new listeners that have been cropping up, because the last few guests that we've had. Thank you for listening to the show and following us on Twitter. You can follow us at Scream_cast, by the way, and spreading the word. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Hold on. First of all, I do have something. I just got in the mail the Waxworks Records Creep Show.
Ooh.
On vinyl. So I'm gonna do an audio unboxing right here for everybody, because that's great radio.
No, that album looks
I have
amazing.
packages today too.
Yeah. And there it is.
My packages in.
It looks amazing.
I gotta maybe
If this was a woman, I would slowly undress it.
Listen how amazing this looks.
Seriously, if you missed out on this, you're missing out. So follow Waxwork Records on Twitter. I think it's just at Waxwork Records. And don't miss out on shit like this. You can't see it, but it's
sold
awesome.
out already, or is it?
Yeah, it's sold out.
God damn it!
You can get it for $375 on eBay.
Oh, is that all? Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
Cheap.
Exactly. I wanted to start the show off talking about this limited release crap, because I missed out on the whole Fright Night release, the Twilight Time one. I've been really wanting to see that on Blu-ray. I know.
Yeah, I did too.
And it haunts me, because every time, cause I looked it up on eBay the other day, and it's like $300 and something, and I just got instantly depressed. Yeah. Do you guys?
The trick is, I told Brian this, is get on eBay frequently, I would say at least 3 times a day, searching for those titles.
Okay.
Because you do have idiots that list them for buy it nows for $30. Because I told Brian this, I got Christine, I got Night of the Living Dead, and Mind Warp was cheap, and I got The Fury, all for around, I think it was $35, $20.
Wow.
Nice.
And they regularly sell for $150 or so. It's just people put them on there for buy it now, because
they don't research, man.
Yeah, they don't look it up beforehand. So I just purchased them, and that's how I got on mine. Fortunately, Fright Night's one of those things that's, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's ever going to post that to be cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that creates value? Do you like that? I mean,
well, Brad and I have talked about this. I mean, it's this thing where collectors like us, it makes you itchy, man. It makes you anxious, and you kind of feel like you're being fucked with a little bit. But I do know in the case of Twilight Time, it's it's just sort of what they've worked out is how much they can sell. In the case of Fright Night, they made a mistake, and same thing with Christine. They just didn't realize how much it was going to sell, and I think once you make a deal like that, it's much harder to repress. And so I don't know, but I know that they didn't have a safeguard in place that would allow you to only order 2 or 3 copies. So of course the motherfuckers who just live off that shit, the limited edition shit, that's the stuff that pisses me off more. And I know that if you create and put out that sort of thing, you should be aware of it, You should put some sort of safeguard on there so that people can't just buy 50 copies or 50 Mondo prints and just dump it right on eBay. Mondo is one of my big hang-ups. I just don't really buy their stuff because, it just ends up on eBay right away, and it's always very tricky to be there at that moment when they're selling it. I just don't really like that sort of okay, now kind of mentality, because it's just like, come on, dude, I'm working. What am I going to do? I can't
exactly.
Can't just sit by my computer all day. I don't know. So anyway, I understand the exclusivity, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm holding out because I know Twilight Time is going to be releasing 1988's The Blob in October.
That's going to be big.
So I'm like, just waiting for that to happen because I think I'm going to take the day off. So don't
dude, I'll tweet at you because I'll buy. I pre-order my stuff that I really want on the day that they put out the email, and sometimes I can anticipate the day that it goes up on the site. Like I'll start checking ScreenArchives.com a couple days before, just kind of see if it's popped up yet, and then when it does, I'll go ahead and just pre-order just to be safe. But if you get it on that first day, I don't think you're going to have a problem.
That's the thing. I always wait for the day of the pre-order release and launch. And as soon as I see that tweet or email or whatever, I'm on that shit.
They don't tweet. So. They don't tweet nearly enough, unfortunately.
They don't.
They
don't.
use their
really
Facebook page a little bit more. But yeah, I'm totally all over that Blob release, dude. That's going to be great.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I have a boner right now.
Ew.
No, but the limited thing, I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. It's a tricky one.
It's one of those things. It kind of pisses me off at times because sometimes I buy things I don't want just because it's limited, and that's just the mentality that I have. And I don't know, it's like a psychological thing, and I know that a lot of people have that. And
I do.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun in a way because you have something that a lot of people don't have. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the Mind Warp Blu-ray that I bought. I'm not a big fan of Mind Warp. It's not that great of a movie, but it's limited edition. It might be worth something. It'll just be nice to have. I'm not going to sell it. That's not the type of person I am. Now I'll sell DVDs if Blu-rays come out, of course. But the limited edition thing is kind of cool, but it kind of sucks because, there's titles like Bright Night that you might really want. And then the fact of, you might spend a lot of money on a limited edition over here on something, but, same thing is with, like in Europe, you might have a release of limited edition and you buy that. Because I know Brian and I've talked about that before. Our luck is that you purchase something overseas for like $50 and then fucking 2 weeks later it's announced over here and it's like, damn it, but that's true. Well, I mean, I base that off now, not releasing of how it's packaged, because I bought, the Trick or Treat Blu-ray over in Germany. I bought the Black Roses Blu-ray over in Germany, but those things come with a soundtrack. They're, big media books. I have this media book thing now that I'm going through where it's like I have to have all the media books from Germany.
Dude, I can't.
Which is insane.
I can't start that. I mean, I'm very tempted because every time you send me a picture, I'm like, oh,
wait till you actually hold one in your hand.
See, that's what I mean. If I do, it's bad news, man. It's bad news. I can't.
Yeah, it's just that, you think media book, you're not going to, but as soon as you like.
No, I've seen just those pictures.
But I'm saying like how smooth and nice it is and the texture. And then you open it up and like you hear that crackling and then, it's like a book inside. It's just, you talk about a boner, Sean. Boner.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It varies. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I was even telling Brian, this is for any distributors out there that are starting. If you make your things limited edition, number them on the spine, and have cool packaging, no matter what the movie is, you're going to sell it.
Yep.
That's just how it is. Because people are crazy over numbered spines. And that's one thing I wish Scream Factory would have done. And I think that would have helped them, their numbers as well, along with everybody,
Yeah. At least with the collector's editions.
Yeah, I mean, even the collector's editions. But I think numbering, because I know Vinegar Syndrome numbers their films. I'm not talking about like, the item number. I'm saying like, 01, 020,
okay,
that kind of a numerical thing. Because I think Scorpion Releasing does theirs too, but I think theirs are item numbers on the side. But anyways, it's kind of cool at times, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Scream Factory isn't that way. I mean, that's one nice thing. I mean, they may lose the rights to something after 3 years, but that's just part of the deal. You got to buy it in 3 years. If you're not going to buy it in 3 years, you didn't really want it. I don't think.
Yeah, and that's one thing that people have to learn is in a few years, these things are going to be extremely probably out of print and hard to come by at times.
Well, yeah, I think the tricky thing is that with the instant everything, streaming everything, I think it gives people the idea that that'll always be around. And I think those of us that know physical media know that it won't. Yeah. But yeah, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise when something goes away. But I really do feel like people are getting used to and taking for granted the fact that good quality versions of movies are going to be around. Maybe not,
Yeah, I actually mentioned that in a little review that I did for a film called Ballet Girls. It's only on VHS. But MGM and Amazon Instant has it on HD. So everybody's like, it's like one of those things, cool, it's on Amazon HD. But it's just, you're not going to be able to download it. You can't, purchase it from there. It's just there. And once it's gone, we're still just going to have a VHS, and it's one of those things where you have to think that instant, just because it's on instant doesn't mean it's going to be there forever, because those things have rights too. They have licensing, how long they can license something. So you gotta play into that too, I believe. Just because something's, newer films, of course, but smaller things like, what Scream Factory's doing and these other companies, these films aren't going to be around for that long. But they do have extended life at this point because they are released on another format.
Yeah. All right. Well, I need to introduce the flick we're talking about today.
What are we talking about, Sean?
We are talking about Death Valley, directed by Dick Richards.
Richard.
Interesting thing about, I keep wanting to say Dick Richards. He's only directed like 7 films?
Yeah, not a lot.
And he did I got my analog notes today.
Nice.
Hear that?
Oh wow! I can hear the pages, Sean.
I know, but this was his 5th movie.
It's not like you lifted four pages though. How many notes do you have?
It's 1 page, just sitting.
Is it crumbled up?
It was folded in half. Side unfolded. But
it sounded like it was folded like 4 times. Are you lying to me?
No, it's once. Jesus. But this was his 5th movie, and this was kind of a change of form as opposed to other movies he directed, because he'd done a few westerns. And Brian, are you familiar with Dick Richards' work?
Yeah.
I know you just posted a thing about kind of, about westerns, right?
Yeah. I've been running a series on my blog about underrated westerns. I've never seen The Culpeper Cattle Company, which is I think one of his first ones. But I have seen Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins, which is an interesting road movie with Alan Arkin and Sally Kellerman and chick whose mom was in Mackenzie Phillips, sorry, from One Day at a Time. That's a cool movie. And then Farewell, My Lovely is a remake with Robert Mitchum. It's a film noir. And then right before Death Valley, he did March or Die, which I think is like a French Foreign Legion war movie with Gene Hackman. But yeah, so he's had an interesting sort of varied career up to that point, But
yeah, and it seems like he hasn't done much afterwards either. I mean, on IMDb, his director credits end at The Heat.
Yeah, which is actually a really good movie. That's one I caught on Netflix streaming. Speaking of streaming, with Burt Reynolds and Peter McNichol, I really like that movie a lot. So that's a good way to go out. But it is strange that he called it quit in '86 for whatever reason.
Yeah, and he's still around. I mean, there's a commentary on this Blu-ray.
Yeah,
and that I checked out. So we'll talk more about the special feature.
Yeah,
a little bit later. But
we're still going to talk to Peter McNichol a little bit. That would have been cool.
Oh yeah,
I'm not Peter McNichol. I'm sorry, Peter Billingsley.
No. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he was. Yeah, why didn't they get? I have a lot of questions about why they didn't do any interviews, because this would have been a great one.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe
have a lot of interviews.
Maybe Billingsley doesn't do interviews anymore, but yeah, there's a lot of great actors in this movie. That anyway, we can get into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting used to we've been doing so many interviews. I'm used to we'll do an interview and then we'll take a break and we'll talk about the movie. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take our musical break here. Sorry, guys, and we'll get right into the movie, because this is a fun one. I really dug this movie. So we're going to play, today's band is a band called The Hunters, but their new album is coming out soon. You can pre-order right now. Let's see here. Their album is called Art Electric. The song I'm going to play for you is called Heroes, and it is streaming on Alternative Press. So I'll get it right. You know, I decided to choose today's band like on the fly, and I'm like looking at my phone. So nothing but professionalism here at the Screamcast. All right, let's just jump right into this. This is The Hunters with the song Heroes on the Screamcast.
Another cigarette.
That was Black Numbers recording artist The Hunters. The song was called Heroes, and their album is called Art Electric, and it comes out this summer, so I guess check back. We'll have links to this band and everything in the show notes.
Show notes.
All right. Enough of that. Let's jump right into today's movie. Of course, we are talking about Dick Richards' film Death Valley.
Things are very quiet in Death Valley these days. In fact, you can go for miles without spotting a corpse. However, if you're patient, something or somebody is bound to turn up.
It was actually filmed in 1980, but it took 2 years to get a release. So
Why is
let's
that, Sean?
start things out with kind of our history with this movie.
Why did it take so long?
I don't know.
The director didn't
It's
know
all your
either.
fault. He didn't know either, right?
Yeah, he was. That commentary was interesting. We can talk about that later. But yeah, he just said that something about slotting and that they just had to find the right slot. He didn't know why. But yeah, it is weird that it took 2 years because it's a good movie.
Yeah. So Brian, what's your experience with this film? Did you see it early on, or
no? Actually,
Oh yeah.
No, you saw.
Oh wait, did you say Brian or Brad?
I said Brian?
You go ahead, Brad.
Fine, I'll sit back.
No, you go ahead.
No, fuck it. Oh, I'm done.
Brian Saur, the gentleman. Brad,
like,
take a seat. I'm talking to Brian right now.
I think
bad idea.
Brad actually put it on a VHS gems list he did for my blog, which was really cool. And
Nice.
I think I had seen it just before that was last year, I want to say. And I think I saw it for the first time last year.
A couple years ago.
Was it a couple years ago now?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, whenever that was, I saw it, I feel like just before that somehow. Like, I don't know. I think, you know what? It had played at Phil Blankenship, one of my favorite programmers in LA, had played it when he was still programming at the New Beverly. He's now programming at Cinefamily, but he played it as a midnight show, and I missed it, but I was like, what is that movie? And I went and tracked it down on VHS. So I've only come to it in the past, 2-3 years. So I know Brad's got a longer history with it, though.
Brad, how about you, sir?
I've had the VHS for quite some time. I don't know how I actually got in touch with it. I just know that I've owned it for quite some time, and I've watched it repeatedly. I think it was just something that I picked up because I used to buy lots off of eBay back in the day when I was little. And I think that was just one of those that was in there. And it was just one of those things that I popped in. I recognized, Peter Billingsley and, of course, Catherine Hicks, which was one of my favorites. Still is. I think she's very, very attractive.
I remember her from Star Trek 4. That was the first time I saw her. I'm sure you saw her in
she was in Child's Play.
Child's Play, that's right.
Mm-hmm. She's a beautiful woman.
She's, and she, it's just one of those things with her. And, when I watched it, I was a little older when I watched it. I would say it was maybe, I wasn't super young when I first screened it. I think I was, probably in my, kind of later teens, like 14, 15, somewhere around there, or middle teens, I guess you would say. And, I watched it and always kind of, the film, like the tone, the feel, the look, it reminds me of like, the Car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a lot like Duel. Like it feels, it just has that, those mountains, that, dust, the dust, lifting up from, the road. And I don't know, it just has that, even like a Rolling Thunder type thing, and I know it has cars in it, of course, but it's not, that's not the relation. It just looks and feels like those movies, especially like how the music is done not at the beginning, of course, because the beginning, like it. I mean, you guys watched it recently, right?
Yeah, I just watched it the other night.
Okay, like the beginning feels like this fun, family movie. The music does not match up at all. And honestly, like, it almost loses you because you think you're watching a horror film, but it has this like weird montage with what's his name? The guy that played the dad or not the dad, but like the leader in the Lost Boys.
Edward Herman.
Yeah, Edward Herman. That's right. He plays the dad, and like they're going around. The music's all happy and shit, and he like departs from his son. He like gives him like the sad story of what's going on, like how his mom, your mom doesn't want to see me anymore, and Peter Billings is crying and shit.
I thought that's a pretty good scene because I feel like for me it hooks you emotionally early, which I kind of hate when movies do that because I'm like, you haven't earned this yet. I don't know who these people are. Why would I care? But he has that great thing he says where he says, your mom and I fell in love with a picture of each other, and just sort of this idea of like people changing over time, and you know what I mean? Like I thought it was a pretty good scene for what it is personally, but
yeah, I wrote in my notes here. At first, I thought this was, this movie opens like a tourism commercial for New York City.
Yeah, no, but Brad, you're totally right. It doesn't feel like the rest of the movie at all. I mean, and I think it's supposed to not. I think it's supposed to set up, New York, and this is a city kid, and the whole relationship with his dad and all that. But yeah, it is kind of weird to start there. Yeah.
But even when they bring in, Catherine Hicks' character, and they bring in like her boyfriend's Mike. I don't know the guy's real name. But
Matt?
Yeah,
he's great.
He they bring them in, and like they're at the airport, and he's playing like with this Simon Says. It doesn't. It honestly, the whole tone. I think it's a little boring, and it's not until they're in the car when he turns around. Actually, that music starts. The movie completely changes.
Yeah,
and it becomes extremely suspenseful for the rest of the entire movie. But I think the first 15 minutes are just completely boring. So if you can fight through that, I mean, that's just my thing. I honestly, every time I watch it, it surprises me how intense, still even to this day, how intense it gets.
Yeah.
Once it starts. Anyways, I was excited. Sorry, Sean, I keep cutting you off. What are you going to say, sweetie?
Christ.
Just say it, babe.
No, I was saying, like, there definitely is a tone shift, and it feels almost like an after-school special on divorce, that first 15 minutes,
True.
And it does come out of left field, but I understand what they're trying to do, and I feel like at least the screenwriter, tried to get you to kind of understand this family dynamic that's going on here, so you at least care about the kid. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is just trying to, really get you, because it's all about the kid. And to really connect with him and see what he's going through. This was written by Richard Rothstein.
Yeah,
and he was responsible for Universal Soldier.
Yeah, that's the big one. It looks like Invitation to Hell. I've heard of. Brad, you've probably seen that. I don't remember if I've seen that.
What is it?
Invitation to Hell and the Bates Motel TV movie, which is kind of a cult thing because it was.
Oh, Invitation to Hell's badass.
Yeah, I don't remember. I feel
he
like
wrote that?
That's what it says. Oh, I've seen. Okay, the Wes Craven one. Duh. Yeah, I've seen that. My bad.
Yeah, that's Invitation to Hell is really good. It's that like the club like lives like some kind of weird weird group. And you call them a club? Would you call them a club? Just a weird group of people.
Yeah.
And it's like the fan. I'm so like. I can't remember.
It's been a while for me on this one.
That Susan Lucci's in that, right? I don't know. But anyways, it's a Wes Craven book. I remember that coming out on DVD years ago and purchasing it and really, really liking that. But anyways, I didn't know he wrote that.
Yeah, no, he's got an interesting little pocket of horror-ish movies. But I don't know, this is probably my favorite of anything he's done. I may like it even more than Universal Soldier, as blasphemous as that is to say. I do like Universal Soldier, but
what else? You said he wrote more horror films. What else did he write?
let's see, Bates Motel, the TV movie. I think Bud Cort is in that.
I like Bud Cort.
I do too. That's kind of a spin on. Yeah. I forget. You know what? I don't know if I've seen Bates Motel. I've always heard about it, but it's kind of a spin on Psycho from 1987. Anyway, I just think this is a pretty solid script, but there's a lot of great stuff going on behind the scenes. The music, the cinematography by Stephen H. Burham, who is De Palma's guy. He's used him in a lot of instances. I think it looks really good, and I think the Blu-ray looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised how good this looked. So, what else? What else did I appreciate about this movie?
I'm looking up this. I'm actually using IMDb right now because I'm interested about this.
Stop
the first time,
everyone.
First time ever on the podcast. I'm pulling up IMDb here.
One thing I appreciate about this movie and movies kind of in this decade, in the 80s and early 80s especially, is that like no guy is no guy's really buff. You know what I mean? It's just your everyday guy. Is getting the girl, is saving the day. It's not these.
But he's also older too. That was kind of cool. It wasn't like she fell in love with some young, suave dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he is younger. I mean, he obviously looks younger than that. What's his name? Harold Sherman. You said
Edward Herman.
Edward Herman. Wow, I totally fucking butchered that. But I mean, obviously he looks. He's better looking and everything. But it wasn't like she left him for. It felt. That was one thing about the movie. It felt like they really were in love rather than kind of just like a fling.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was like really, really trying to connect with the boy.
Yeah.
And it's very comparable to, I don't know if you guys got this or if you've ever read this. Dean Koontz has, a movie, a novella called Shattered. And every time I think of Shattered, I think of Death Valley, and every time I think of Death Valley, I think of Shattered, because Shattered is a story about kind of a stepfather steps in to pick up the son of this woman that he met, and take the little boy kind of on a cross country road trip to connect with him, and I think they're like from Texas to California or something like that. And the little boy notices a van following them. Nice. And all through the book, this person in this van basically torments them and chases them down. And there is like this huge bonding between the boy and the son. I know that's not kind of like the same thing as Death Valley, but just how they're stalked kind of by this guy and how the boy sees it and is the only one that believes at first what's going on. Yeah. And I think I actually wrote that up in the write-up for your blog, Brian, is that we always have those films where we have kids that believe, or, and they do exist, of course. They see, ghosts, they see a monster, they see something that's not real. But this kid actually sees a murderer, a serial killer, which is very, very plausible, because obviously people kill people all the time. So it's a little more realistic when that happens, because, it's kind of fun always when the parents don't believe the kids. For me, it's just that tactic that films use. And I think that's a lot of fun, just because we kind of get submersed in this kids world, and kids have to band together. Kids will believe kids. The adults aren't going to believe us. The police won't believe us. They're going to, you call one more time, you guys are going in jail, some kind of bullshit like that. Yeah. It's just a cliche, but I think it's really fun. And that's why I think this works with Death Valley, because, he's in the car and he knows kind of what's going on. And, Stephen McHattie is truly terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to do much. Just the way he looks and just the way he presents himself, just that scene alone, you can just watch that one scene with him and Wilford Brimley in the kitchen.
Oh, that's such a great scene, dude.
And it's
so awkward, but yeah.
Yeah. Because, you don't know what's going to happen, but this guy is shady in some way. And I don't know. He's a really good actor. He was excellent in a movie called Pontypool that I know a lot of people love. But he's always been a really, really good actor, and I'm glad he's kind of having like a resurgence a little bit.
He's also in Watchmen.
But yeah, he kicks ass. What'd you say?
I said he's also in Watchmen.
Oh yeah, he's in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he kind of like always goes under people's radar. Like he'll pop up every once in a while, and you'll say, "Holy shit, Stephen McHattie!" But you know, he's a badass actor. You know, I just wish he would get he'd be just a little bit bigger than he is. But he was actually in a movie recently called Haunter, where he played kind of like a ghost-like character. It was kind of Haunter's not a very good movie in my opinion, but he is actually really, really good in it. He's quite terrifying. But anyways, that's my part of Stephen McHattie's badassness.
one thing I always go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, thank you. One thing I was gonna say, continuing about like the decade that this was filmed in. This was a decade where parents let their kids go wherever, where kids were more of a nuisance, you know, and let's just get this kid out of here. And sure, kid, go wander around Death Valley in this abandoned mine. Go for it, you know?
Yeah, no, I
kind of shrug it, you know.
That's one of the things I love about this period, and I know it sounds weird being a parent, as we're all parents, but there's something about kid peril that is really appealing, and maybe it's because it's antiquated now and we don't see it anymore. Just like we don't see smoking in movies anymore, really, except R-rated movies. So, yeah, there's something about that tension that comes with kids in peril that is very real, and I still miss it. So when I see it in a movie like this, especially when you got a great actor like Peter Billingsley pulling it off, it's really effective. You know, it just ups the stakes, you know, that much more for me. But yeah, I'm with you totally, Sean. It's just a different time as far as parenting and what you know. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would look at this now and go, "That's crazy. I would never let my kid wander around this store by himself, or go off and wander around this old West town."
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, our parents used to do it all the time, so it's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah, a completely different world. Yeah. I mean, I was born in '84. So, I mean, I was coming out, but I mean, kids that grew up in the 60s and 70s, that was a normal thing, you know? And I mean, there's always been sickos and psychos out there, but it wasn't, you know, as bad, I guess you could say. I mean, there's, you know, you could leave your house unlocked. You could let your kids play in the street without any worry. Now, you know, you don't even want them to go outside to get the mail half the time.
Hell no.
But one thing I did like about it, you know, even he, you know, does escape like 3 or 4 times, you know, just wandering off by himself. It's not one of those things where his life, you know, mom was making out with her boyfriend or getting frisky in the station wagon or anything. There wasn't any of that. Like, they were just off doing something else, and he explored. You know, it wasn't like, you know, he was being ignored at all.
Right.
He just liked to explore. I mean, I think that was he's a smart kid, and that's one thing I like how they reiterated that countless times, even when he corrects, like, you know, Wilford Brimley when he speaks to him, you know, speaking in a proper English. But you can tell right off the bat that this kid is intelligent, and I think that's kind of a free pass for him to go explore, because I think with his mom, she knows that this kid's smart. He's going to be able to kind of handle himself. I mean, I wouldn't say like down in a fucking crater looking at an RV, you know, with the dilapidated buildings around, because that's obviously dangerous. But we're also in the movie world, so you know it works out.
Yeah,
I don't think it's unbelievable, you know. And I actually didn't question that until you brought it up. So fuck you guys.
Well, no, I mean, it's one of those things, because I remember moments like that as a kid. It brought me back when I would go and just wander all around. I feel like within like a 5-mile radius of my house, I'd go out to a park nearby. My parents were nowhere within eyesight, you know. So it's just, as if you grew up in the 80s, you explored, and your parents kind of gave you free will to do that.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Peter Billingsley in this? I mean, I thought it was fantastic because you only kind of remember him from the Christmas stories, what he's most known for, but he's just fantastic in this.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, he's really good.
Yeah, very believable.
Well, and he really, there's a lot of things the movie does. I mean, one is you cast Peter Billingsley, but as far as getting you hooked into, like you said, Brad, sort of like almost from his point of view, you see the car initially from his point of view, and from that point on, I feel like the movie kind of puts you, it does like lower angle shots, sort of POV stuff sometimes, and kind of keeps you in his, it's just like when that turn happens, suddenly it's like the movie, like you say, Brad, like the movie, it suddenly becomes his story. It becomes like, oh shit, what is going on there? And we're sort of investigating with him as he keeps, wandering around. But I just love the way they make it. I call it the Hitcher Jr. when I describe it to people because, like you said, Brad, it does recall like Duel and the car and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Hitcher's a good one too.
I just feel like, I mean, it's not exactly like that, but just the way it starts. And
the way it's the way it's perceived, the tone, especially because I mean, I agree. Like that could be easily a Hitcher Jr. Like C. Thomas Howell is like a grown-up Peter Billingsley, and Stephen McHattie's like an old,
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer. So like, yeah, I totally see that. And it's actually a pretty cool spin. I'll use that instead of the car and Duel. Thank you, Brian. I'll steal that.
No, totally, man. But I have in my notes Duel in the car. I mean, it's that initial shot of him looking out the back of the station wagon and that specific car. I mean, it feels like a 1950s car. I think kind of beat up, but it's creepy. They immediately
but as soon as you see it, it completely changes the tone of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't even have to have the music yet, but the music just makes it even worse.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
And just even, like, there's a lot of drops and a lot of, like, crashes, like, with cymbals, like, during the score that just make you jump.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember watching a movie kept on, like, kind of, like, made me feel antsy. Because when he goes to investigate that RV for the first time, that music's just going crazy. And it's like, nothing's even happening, but I keep, like, I'm getting really, really anxious because this little boy is not going to be able to defend himself. He's uncovered something horrific. And, this music is not helping at all.
Yeah.
But, Well, go ahead, Brian. I love to hear
I'm sorry, dude.
This is the benefit of having three hosts.
Benefit or not? Well, no, I was going to say the music is great in that scene, the RV scene, but it's really well put together, too. Just, again, sort of POV shots, his hand reaching up to pull a door open or whatever, and us kind of not knowing where things are or where things might be hiding. It's just a really nice, you're like, oh, behind this, and the music, like you say, is just going crazy. So I like that scene a lot. I think that's a good scene, especially with him in it.
There's one shot in the movie that really has always bothered me, and I'll just ask, is there any shot in the movie that you noticed that just felt completely out of place?
I thought kind of near the end they kind of go a little slow-mo crazy.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
During a reveal and...
Yeah, the slow-mo's crazy, but whenever they're at the airport and he's getting off the plane, Catherine Hicks goes to hug him, but it's like a POV shot of her like raising her arm up and giving him a hug, and like she like looks like she's hugging the camera for a split second, and then they cut to actually a cut, and just always like it felt like they should have cut that earlier.
Yeah.
Or why was that kind of a POV shot? But yeah, if you ever get around to rewatching it, just look at that, and it's just one of those things where it's just like the filmmaker aspect, where it's like, why did you do that? Because there's nothing else like that in the movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like you said, Brian. There's a lot of low angle shots, especially like whenever I'll go back to that scene where Stephen McHattie and Wilford Brimley are sitting there at the kitchen. There's that one shot where the camera gets super low, and it's like pointing up to them, and it's not like a Dutch, it's not like a Dutch tilt or anything, but it just gives you this sense of extremely like uneasiness during there because it's so open. And even though there's nothing around, like nothing's happening, it's just that one shot is extremely effective. And I guess it's a blend between, McHattie's performance and the music and just that shot. But man, it's so uncomfortable. But I mean, they nailed that sequence.
Yeah. That was really good.
It's a really good sequence.
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a time constraint today, unfortunately. But I I want to kind of give our final thoughts on the film, and then let's talk about the Blu-ray briefly here and what we thought about it. I mean, I watched this film for the first time last night, and overall, I think it surprised me how well it was done, and like the acting, the story, and everything. So if you haven't seen this movie, if you kind of see this and you're like, what the hell is Scream Factory doing with this movie? Definitely check it out. I highly recommend it because it was surprising.
I think it's one that
never made it on DVD as well.
Yeah, that was why I was so excited about it. But yeah, I think it's one that they like. I feel like I've seen Jeff at Scream Factory talk it up a little bit and maybe talk about how it didn't do as well as they thought it would.
Mm-hmm. No.
Which is too bad because I feel like people should go ahead and take the chance and buy it because it's worth it.
Like, this is legitimately a good movie, folks.
Absolutely.
Like, this is a really good movie. It does have its slow parts. I will admit that. But all in all, between performances and music and just how it's shot, it's a really, really good movie, and it's a really good story, and it's quite terrifying. I don't know if I've watched too many movies from the 80s where I actually feel uneasy watching it, even after multiple viewings.
Yeah.
So the movie's doing something right that other movies haven't. Yeah, it's not action-packed where, the family's teaming up and fighting off the serial killer, which that kind of does happen in a way. But I don't know. It's just one of those movies that is a little timeless at times with your stalker serial killer type movies.
Absolutely. And
a lot of those movies don't hold up.
Well, a lot of them don't have the kid's perspective, which I think is something that makes it unique and memorable.
Yeah, it works too. And a good child actor too.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Also, Wilford Brimley's chest hair.
Yes.
Acknowledge that.
Incredible.
It looks like a shirt underneath his other shirt. It's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Pretty manly.
Well, let's go and size up the picture and the special features and everything. I thought the picture looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Compared to like not Sleepaway Camp, we haven't seen that yet. Slumber Party Massacre and the other, like the Howling and things we've been covering. Like, this picture looks great. And I noticed there's a little bit of kind of digital noise here and there, but it looked, I was really surprised how, I don't know if they did any digitizing or any like fixes with anything, but I thought it looked fantastic.
I imagine that's one of these movies that, since it never made it on, DVD and it's kind of been buried, probably the print's actually really, really good,
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly...
That's my guess. I mean, I think Universal owns it, so I imagine it's probably in pristine condition and never went anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, actually. I believe it's Universal. It is. It's MCA, right? So Universal. Yeah. So, that's a company that obviously cares a lot about film preservation and letting Scream Factory release this in hopes that they'll get a lot of other shit from Universal because they own a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Come on, people.
Yeah, especially with the Arrow Blu-ray coming out, I'm hoping that's a predecessor to a Scream Factory release.
What?
That'd be amazing.
The Burbs.
Ooh, that'd be nice. Yeah, they haven't really said no to that.
No.
Yeah, I see a lot of people asking, and it's one of those things. Because we're not affiliated with Scream Factory, we don't work for Scream Factory, we don't get paid by Scream Factory, so this is all like assumptions by us. Is that if you notice, Scream Factory will say no to things like, no, we can't get that.
Yeah.
Then they'll say
the rights or whatever. Yeah.
Then they'll say not at this time or not in the near future, and sometimes they won't answer at all because they didn't answer to anything about Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
And,
that's funny.
The trick is, don't ask about multiple movies, just ask about one. And if they don't respond, that means it's kind of on their radar. That's what I'm guessing. That's just how I picked that up.
Well, let's talk really quick. Sorry, guys, I'm rushing everyone
crack
along.
That whip.
Let's talk about the audio commentary, because that is the only special feature really on here, and it's basically an interview with the director. And I don't know how old he is now, but he'll answer the interviewer with like a one-word answer.
Yeah, it's so a rough. Like, I felt bad
trying to pull an answer out of Dick Richards here.
Yeah, the guy's name is Edwin Samuelson. He's the he's the moderator, and he has a show called The Cinephiles on YouTube. He seems to know his stuff relatively well, but yeah, you can tell early on that he's like, oh man, it's going to be like this. And he's just kind of like reaching for questions to try and get the guy to talk, and he doesn't have a lot. He has one good story about getting offered Jaws, I think, at one point. Mm-hmm. And he has some comments about different actors, but mostly he says what you'd expect he would say.
Yeah.
So it's a rough commentary from the point of view that you get uncomfortable when you're like, you hear somebody trying really hard to get somebody else to talk, and they're not going for it. So it's okay. I mean, he has a few little nuggets here and there, but overall, a touch disappointing, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy's old. What are you gonna do?
Also disappointing is that fucking babysitter in the movie. How annoying was she?
Oh my God, I can't believe
Jesus.
we got to talk about that for 1 second.
We do, and that's, oh my gosh.
You know what?
I don't even know how to
It's
feel it.
almost comedic.
It's totally comedic.
Yeah, it's like they want you to see, like, as soon as we put her on screen, because, I mean, obviously you have a larger person eyeing candy bars. Okay, that's kind of funny.
She's
but we're also
fucking
making
candy
fun.
bars, you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, she's fucking candy bars, but it won't stop.
No.
Like, she keeps on going on about food, and it's like, it's almost the point where you're laughing, and you're like, God damn, I want to see this woman die.
It becomes a short film about her desire for that food, because the movie just cuts away from Billingsley and just showing her staring at his, are you going to eat those chips, or, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I was watching Weird Science literally 2 nights ago, and you guys remember the scene in the shower where Gary and Wyatt come out. They've gone into the shower when the other 2 girls they like are in the bathroom, and then they cut back, and the 2 fat girls are in the bathroom. They've been replaced. The blonde girl is the babysitter, the one that replaces.
Oh God,
it's totally her. I looked at her face, and I would never have noticed it had I not just watched Death Valley. But I looked her up, and it's the same girl.
Yeah.
So this woman's been unfortunately typecast as like a heavier actress through her whole life, apparently.
Poor
Even
girl.
the thing when she's eating the chips, like she eats the last chip, and then like she looks at like it's just a small fucking bag.
Yeah.
But she like looks into it like it's a black hole, and like really like examines to make sure that there's no other chips in there.
There's no chance.
And it's just to the point where it becomes a slasher, because I don't think the film is. It's a serial killer movie. It's not really necessary. There are some slasher scenes, like, for example, the RV scene and stuff like that. Yeah. But it becomes a slasher for a moment because it gets that comical in that sense. And it honestly reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 5, whenever that guy's chopping wood, and, the fatter kid's eating a candy bar, and he's got chocolate all over his face. He's like, you want a candy bar? He's like, no, I don't want any fucking chocolate.
Yeah, totally, dude. Good call.
And it's like that it's like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh shit, she's gonna get a fucking axe to the face. Yeah. But yeah, it's such a weird scene. It is misplaced, but it works 100%.
Well, hey guys, I need to wrap up. I got a time constraint.
Absolutely.
So sorry, we gotta.
We're all good.
Short, but
fuck you, Sean.
I know, man. You can follow the show at Scream_cast on Twitter, and of course, thescreamcast.com. Brian, where can people find you, sir?
They can find me at Bob Freelander on Twitter, and rupertpupkinspeaks.blogspot.com is my blog.
Awesome. And Brad?
In your pants.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. And with that, everyone, thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to all of you next week. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.